And while that kind of control and efficiency is brilliant for racing, just being able to tip into the jankiest stuff with huge amounts of control, even when it's proper slippery, is just so confidence inspiring.
My name's Guy Kesteven. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 25 years, and today I'm reviewing the brand new RockShox SID Ultimate fork and updated SID Lux Ultimate rear shock. So we're going to start by going through the structural and internal changes, and then we're going to get onto the trail and I'll give you some riding impressions on this brand new combo. So, sticks with 35mm for legs, but apart from that, it's a totally new chassis. You've got a more machined out crown, which is lighter and stiffer, and those upper legs are also extended longer. So that means you've got more spacing between the bushings inside, which is what those upper legs slide on. So it's stiffer fork, and hopefully that will solve the bushing knock problems that were an issue on some previous generation SIDs. The lower legs are also hollowed out more, so you've got more space for the air spring, and they're now running a new Maxima Plush dynamic suspension fluid in there. So less stiction from that, and better lubrication, longer run times. And again, because you're getting a stiffer fork structure, there's less chance of the fork binding under load when you're braking heavily, because standard fit is a 180mm rotor, which kind of works. I mean, I know some people might run a 160 for racing, but those people are probably going to go with the SID SL fork, which sticks with a 32mm leg, and that's 160 grams lighter than this SID Ultimate fork. And making the most of that increased internal volume is the Debonair Plus air spring. So you've got 50% increase in negative volume and a 16% increase in positive volume. So you've got much more air in the fork, and because it's weighted towards the negative side, that means a lot plusher, more sensitive start, and more ability for the fork to rise up above the sag point to really glue down the grip on the trail. And that's exactly how it feels. This fork is so succulent. It feels utterly hooked into the trail in a way that kind of normally expect from like coil suspension. And speaking of coil, you've also got a coil top out spring in there now rather than an elastomer, and then down the bottom of the leg you've got a internal longer tapered bottom out bumper in there as well, which kind of takes care of the bottom end of the stroke if you really slam it through something, because it is a relatively mobile fork as it comes, and up to the point it hits that bottom out bumper, it is a very fluid and mobile fork. And while there are recommended pressures printed on the back of the leg, I find them reading a bit too low, so I've been adding about 10% compared to what they suggest I should be running. And while obviously if you use the pedal mode, that makes it less sensitive off the top, there's no way you can adjust the high-speed compression damping. So if you're looking for a fork that takes a bit more effort to push through its stroke, then you might want to add a bottomless token volume spacer in there as well. And RockShox don't print sag markers on their fork legs anymore, so it does just take a little bit more care setting up initially. But this blue crush colour really is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, the old SID blue was, I mean, it was great as a kind of trademark signature colour. On the far side, you've got the new Charger Race Day 2 damper. And the big news here is it's now got 3 modes. So when we go up to this twist lock remote, you can see you've got open, you've got a new pedal mode, and you've got lock. So pedal is a low speed compression damping increase. It doesn't affect rebound, it doesn't affect the travel at all. It's just a little firmer and generally a firmer pedaling feel, and obviously that kind of affects the rear more, but it's also a really useful setting on the front as well. And because both cables are slaved together, you get that same compression damping action front and rear simultaneously. And as well as triple mode, you've now got a new valve head in the fork, which it's tougher, it's more reliable, because again, there were a few lockout issues on previous generation forks, but they've got a whole new valve head, which effectively uses an O-ring as a shim to toughen the whole setup. And they've slightly refined the overall control of the package as well. Going down to the bottom, you'll also get the fork supplied with little adapters that fit into these oversized torque cap dropouts, so they'll run with a standard hub. And despite the fact you've got longer fork overlap now and a heavier duty damper in there, the fork has actually lost a tiny bit of weight. So the fork, the SID Ultimate I was running before was 1508 grams, and this one is just under 1500 grams, which is basically identical to Fox 34 SC. And while this fork has gone up slightly in price, it's just over £1,000 now, it's still 270 quid cheaper than that Fox equivalent, and it's 270 grams lighter than the Olin's 34 downcountry fork. So it really is in a sweet spot in terms of weight and value for money. The only thing you are slightly restricted on is it only comes in 29er, and it only comes with a 44mm offset crown. But to be fair, that's what most bikes are using there now, so it isn't going to restrict it to most people. And as you can see, I mean, this forecast is listed as a 2.4, but it's near a 225. But there's loads of space around that angular brace there, and it actually comes with an optional bolt-in fender that sits on the back of the fork there to keep a bit of the spray out your face. Moving to this SID RockShox, the big change is to the high-speed compression damping. You've got a more open flow now in the circuitry, so it handles bigger hits much more smoothly. Zero choking with this shock, even when I've been properly slapping it down enduro lines. And it's even running 40mm stroke at the moment, so it's only 100mm in the back here. But I mean, it feels fantastic. I mean, shorter travel shocks are never going to feel, you know, and it feels absolutely fantastic. It's transformed the back end of this Cervelo into a proper trail bike. It really has. And then you've got slightly reworked top end there, a little more volume in the top of the shock. It comes in trunnion, it comes in standard eyelet, it comes in a whole range of different sizes. There's 4 different remote options. There's 3 different remote options, and then a manual lever option as well. So you can see, as I move the twist grip, you've got that little spool on top there to toggle it through the 3 positions. And it also now comes in 12 preset tuning options. So if you've got a bike and you want to install this new what they call 3P, 3-position damping, you can get an off-the-shelf tune that will suit your bike, and that's for the 12 kind of most popular XC downcountry bikes out there. And obviously you can then get custom tunes for your bike above and beyond that as well. And speaking of upgrades, the good news about that Charger Race Day damper on the front is that can be slotted into any previous 35mm SID on this version, and then if you get the 32mm one, that'll do any SID 32mm fork from 2014. So if you've got an older fork that maybe you just want to bring up to current spec, then you can just slide that brand new damper and get that 3P 3-position performance straight in there.
And this whole high control XC, fast trail, whatever you call it, downcountry, whatever you want to call it, category of bikes and components is my favourite thing about modern mountain biking. I love being able to attack a climb and go straight into a descent with zero compromise in control. I'm not a big jumper, not a sender or a, you know, steezy smash and grab merchant, as you know. I just like going fast in every situation, from fire road climbs to flowing single track or, you know, reasonably janky technical descents, and a 1500 gram fork with the stiffness and control of a trail fork. I mean, compared to the pike, you're saving almost 500 grams and you're still getting 35mm legs, and it just feels so planted now, even with that 180mm rotor. Thanks very much, cheers. I mean, there's quite a lot of bite in these level 4-pot brakes now, but zero deviation, zero distraction or flex or twang. This front end just feels fantastic. Just the right balance of a little bit of forgiveness on long, grueling days, but then sharp enough that you can properly make the most of side knobs on your tyres or snatch victory from disaster at the last minute. And then when it goes up again, traction mode, seat up, transmission, doing the shift under stress there. SRAM really have got it dialed at the moment when it comes to fast XC style control. This Cervelo ZFS feels fantastic, and a big part of that is this latest SID Ultimate collection. But there's another piece coming that I can't even tell you about. Takes things to the next level. Have to wait until later in August for that one. And that extra structural stiffness from the overlap is really obvious on sort of slow speed nadgery sections like this, where, you know, a traditional lightweight fork would kind of get twisted up. You can really trust this, you know, to pick a line, and then depending on the negative like that, you've just got that bit more grip, bit more kind of bandwidth of just super supple control. And then the traction as you flow in and out of those two chambers is just fantastic. So, you know, while there are more and more of these sort of mid-weight, mid-grip down country tyres like these Forecasters I'm running on the front now, this fork just super flatters whatever tyre you're running in terms of grip, and also just means you can attack sections much harder than normal. It's a proper attack fork, this. And while triple bowed isn't anything new, being able to, you know, have it rigid on the boardwalk there and then fully open for this rocky section, and then just into pedal for a bit more of bite, a bit more low speed compression, but still getting that supple traction and rollover front rear, so I can pick straight line over these routes, but it still feels really pert through the pedals. It's just awesome. I've always liked multi-mode lockouts on Scott Sparks, etc. So it's great that you're now getting that ride characteristic basically extended to any full suspension bike. And larger air volumes in both the negative and the positive just means a much more kind of trail feel to the suspension, much more fluid and capable. Where the old fork, I mean, I love the old fork, but now I'm riding this just feels much more open. You can take bigger gulps of the trail and just swallow them down, keep that speed super high. And it's the same on the back, where you've got that more open high-speed compression valving on there now, so if it takes a big slap, doesn't register at all, just takes it in, keeps the wheel on the ground, keeps that control brilliantly. I mean, and obviously I'm just playing down the local single track today, it's nothing radical at all, but I've been hammering this setup across some of the roughest trails I know on the moors, including an absolutely infamous riverbed trail up near Chop Gate. It's actually been used on the Ardmores Enduro, although it's actually a legal bridleway as well. And there's a savage run of just big random rocks. And on this SID setup, first time down, I actually PR'd it, even with a bit of cross-country tyre apprehension. The control and its ability to carry speed is that good. And again, when you've got those transitions from smooth, where you want that sprint control, to big, rocky, rough sections where you want maximum flow for control and to keep you going. Being able to just throw that twist lock and get that change instantaneously is just awesome. So while there's a slight disappointment we're not getting Nino's electronic flight attendant system yet, having instant manual control of those 3 modes is absolutely spot on for having the optimum suspension system for every section of trail. And while that kind of control and efficiency is brilliant for racing, just being able to tip into the jankiest stuff with huge amounts of control, even when it's proper slippery, is just so confidence inspiring. I mean, the tyre's properly skipping there, but because you've got that negative spring extension and that tighter turning from that fork overlap, you know, for like borderline trialsy stuff like that, this combo is just such a winner. So all that performance and a big dose of super plush play as well. I am loving this setup, and while I'm kicking myself for not filming those descents up on the moors, I was absolutely flat out through serious rock fields. Actually, this kind of roller coaster, rough, smooth, sprint, drop in mix that's so typical of race courses and local trails, just generally XC riding as a whole, is just a great example of why a 1500 gram fork that rides like a 2 kilo fork but also has full lockout or super plush performance with the twist of a grip, it's spot on. So if this is the kind of riding you're into, or you know, you like making a mockery of big travel bikes, even on big terrain, but still having a bike that's comfortably 10 kilos like this, then you're gonna love this new SID combo. This really is now the XC attack benchmark in terms of suspension. Certainly when you take costs into account. And while this ZFS is really sorted in terms of pedalling kinematics, it's basically Santa Cruz Blur back end. If you've got a bike that's a little too kind of stiff, bit too much stiction there, then you're gonna be able to use that open to really get some plush into it while still having that pedal mode, so you can run it a little bit softer to kind of massage some smoothness into the setup. And then if you've got a bike that, you know, wallows a bit too much when you pedal, then you've got the pedal option or the lock option to firm it up under your feet. So I think this is going to be a real benefit to a whole load of bikes, especially as you can retrofit that damper into older SID forks as well. So even if you've got a bike that's 9 years old, you can still potentially benefit from that 3-position damper tech and bring your vehicle right up to date. Come on, SID, let's have it. Whew. I think I'm genuinely toggling between modes with this setup more than I am changing gear. on trails like this, because it's just great to be able to have that selection for optimum suspension at a split second, and it's under your command as well. I know AI is coming to the XC circuit. We've seen Pidcock winning on it and Schurter, but kind of like being in control of my own destiny, especially when, oh, this is so ridiculously smooth through all this jank. So on point, amazing. Do not have to back off at all. Phew. And although there were times previously, as you'd expect for, you know, a 2 kilo XC frame, that this bike could feel a bit hysterical and a bit twitchy and a bit perched. Now because you've got that extra negative spring sucking it down onto the ground, it just feels calm as a Hindu cow through the most jagged rock sections. Oh, staccato roots. The only thing I would say is that, considering what a punk vibe it gives to a cross-country bike, I think they have missed a trick calling this combo SID and SID Lux, not Sid and Nancy. But I'll have to check the comments to see if anyone even gets that reference. So there we go. Well, that's the live ride review recap of the last 2 months of testing on this superlative new SID Ultimate setup from RockShox. I mean, I already loved it previously, but not only do I like that new colour even more, but they've pushed even further into the trail fork envelope in terms of that ultra supple, almost coil-like sensitivity off the top for comfort and traction and grip, even when it's all going horribly wrong. And I'm going to have to take back what I said about it maybe needing bottom out spaces in there, and maybe needing volume spaces in there, because actually it's been running fine. I mean, this is a 120, you get them in a 110 as well, but that conical jounce bumper in there is obviously doing its job, stopping me blowing through to full travel. And the mid-stroke for cornering on more bermed trails, when I've had it on those, this has been impeccable. Really lets you use this latest generation of grippier XC downcountry tyres to the max. And the back end is just really, really well behaved. It's just no trouble, no drama at all. The control at both ends on this bike really is absolutely fantastic. Just proper, flat out attack confidence at an XC weight. So yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but compared to the competitors, it's still a really good deal. And so the only thing that's really might be a fly in the ointment is whether that new valve head in the damper does stop any lockout issues that it's had before, and whether that increased bushing overlap and those longer upper legs sort out the bushing knock that used to be a problem with the SID 35mm forks. But obviously, you know, I'm in no hurry to take these forks off this bike. I'm going to put as much mileage into them as I possibly can, and you know, I'll keep feeding back if anything develops to the good or the bad. But for now, massive thanks to RockShox for sending the SID pairing in for test. Huge thanks to Zero Cycling for supporting the channel. Thanks to Cervelo for the test bed bike as well, and SRAM for the other kit. Thanks to PT's. If you can see there, that's their new Holdfast wrap that'll be coming out soon. I'll be doing a full deep dive into the that lovely bit of external storage there. Torque, sponsor of the channel as well, so I've got their new Elite Ultralight Super Fast Flow bottle. Enduro bearings, I've got those on the bike in the bottom bracket as well. So this is a proper sponsors machine now. They sponsor the channel as well. I'm not wearing any Hebtro Co clothing, and I haven't got my crud catcher on because it was a little bit sticky, but it wasn't that splattery. But yeah, that's all the current sponsors, I think. Who have I missed out? No, that's the lot. And as always, massive thanks to my Patreon subscribers who pledge a small amount every month, and that massively helps with the sustainability of the channel, and they get early, exclusive and ad-free edits as a perk, as well as a bit more buying advice and hopefully a bit more in-depth help using my 25 years of testing experience. So if you really like what I'm doing with the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guy Kes TV, reviewing the awesome new RockShox SID Ultimate Fork and SID Lux Ultimate
rear shock. Thanks for watching.